Welcome to Cowgirl Talk, where we empower you to live authentically through real food, real talk, and real life. Sisters brought together by our love of cows. We're your host, Emily, a dairy lover and personal trainer living in Florida.
And Becca, a corporate cowgirl holding down the family fort in Pennsylvania. Let's go, cowgirls!
Hello, and welcome back to Cowgirl Talk. As summer has officially kicked off, as we're recording this, we thought it would be really fun to kind of reminisce in this episode because with the start of summer, that comes the start of fair season and all of the different youth activities and competitions in the dairy world. And we grew up very involved in these things, and our summers were always jam-packed, being involved in 4-H activities and FFA activities. And so we just thought this episode would be really fun to kind of reminisce on, again, our days really involved in those organizations, tell some probably really funny stories. Becca and I were talking before this, and I was already cackling, and really just talk about kind of the importance of these organizations and such, even though now as adults, we know they even shaped us into who we are today. So let's get back into the normal structure of our episodes, and we are going to dive into our highs and lows of the week. And Becca, I'm excited to hear your highs and lows because it's kind of a unique, fun thing.
Yeah, I called Emily on what I've had quite a long drive or set of drives, plural, this week. And on one of them, I called Emily and was just saying, I wouldn't have had these things on my 2024 or professional bingo card. And so this past week for work, I had 3 different opportunities in Virginia related to my job. And the kind of grand finale of this world tour of Virginia was going to the Dairy Daddies baseball game and handing out our milk. So we gave away free milk. We partnered with the Dairy Alliance, which some of our Hag and Dairy followers may know. They knew Emily whenever I had name dropped Dairy Girl Fitness.
Yeah, that's my neck of the woods, baby.
My celebrity association to Emily continues.
Oh, you're related to me?
And so Dairy Daddies is not dads who love dairy. It is...
Maybe.
No, it's not. They love dairy, but they're not dads.
No.
In that sense. So it is I learned a little bit about baseball too
Awesome.
while I was there. And so there's different leagues for college players to play in during the summer called summer ball. Okay. I can't remember what league they were in, but it's the Danville Otterboxes and the Danville Dairy Daddies.
Oh, they've too.
So yeah, and it's like a decent stadium. They had sold out all 2,200 seats. I don't think that many people were there. Maybe. I don't know. It was pretty packed. Wow. We ran out of milk. So it was a special day. It was Teat Tuggin' Thursday.
Is that every Thursday or was it specific because you guys were there?
I think it's like a thing that they have. They have like Farmyard Friday and
yeah.
So Teat Tuggin' Thursday, the first 250 people to buy a beer got a free koozie. Those were gone like in an instant.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so they did a good job of towing the line of the sexual innuendos, right? Obviously, Dairy Daddy is like a frisky innuendo, is what we'll say on this podcast.
Dad is.
And they were like just taking pictures with our milk and like being kind of funny, but like almost like making fun of the sexiness of it. Cause like, it's hilarious. It's like these little kids, they're not little, they're 18 to 21, but
yeah, college kids are younger than us.
Yeah, they looked little. I was like, oh my God, I've reached the point where they literally look like they should be in high school.
Oh my gosh, we're old.
But so it was just so much fun. They had this one video that I don't know if I thought this was more popular, but have you ever seen the crab rave on YouTube? The
crab?
There's like this. This must be an elder millennial thing. There was like this crab rave video on YouTube where it was just a bunch of cartoon crabs raving. Honestly, I think it was made by someone on acid for other people on acid.
Oh my God. No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, so
But I
then
want
you
to.
will
I
get
want them got.
okay.
Go
Everybody
watch it
look up
after
the
this.
crab ravers, and then they made this like cow video that looked like the cow rave. It was everything was run by college students, and I think it's like a great place for kids to work for the summer.
Yeah.
But we earlier in the week, I was at the Milk Pep, so it's our processor like checkoff organization, their board meeting, and they were talking about just like what resonates with Gen Z and Gen
Just
Alpha.
weird, random stuff.
And I remember this woman who was presenting it was so smart. Their staff is so smart and creative, and she said, "Listen, you're probably not going to like this, but this is not for you." The most unhinged shit I have ever seen. It was crazy. And then you know what though? It made sense whenever I got to the Dairy Daddies game.
Yes.
It's like the video and the AI cow creation, like the kung fu cows and the
Oh my gosh.
oh my god, yeah. So anyways, it was just a hilarious night. People were like, "Oh, your chocolate milk's my favorite milk," and then people were just loving
Yay.
it. So but then
That's
we also
awesome.
had people were like, it was, 95 degrees. People were like, I do not want milk. So some people did bite on the fact that milk hydrates better than water, which it does.
Yeah.
It's like it's 87% water and then just a bunch of amazing nutrients, but I digress. So yeah, that was my high.
That's so fun.
I'll leave it with it was just like a lot of on the fly. What could we do with this? Because we're just trying to learn what sticks.
Yeah.
And the one thing we did, we had one white whole milk half-gallon left. And we took it to the general manager and we're like, let's do a milk dump. And so they picked, I was like, and then I was like, oh, let's make it a Mayola player of the game. And so we knew there was a bit of a risk with how and where they were going to do this milk dump. But they picked a player of the game, had him in the shower, and then they wear these shorts that say Dairy Daddies across the crotch. Sorry, I should say the front. It's such a weird word.
Well, you already said it.
Yikes. Sorry, guys.
Excuse me. The fruits of the body. Well, it's true.
Kind of like how we used to wear Juicy across the butt.
Juicy Couture track pants.
And so this poor kid, you can tell in the video, it already has like crazy amounts of views. They have great social media, so it was great for us. And they like interview him, which is just a hilarious interview because he doesn't really even answer it that well.
Yeah.
And then you can tell his teammates could not wait to dump this milk on him.
Oh,
They're like,
no.
yeah. And I was like, I really hope this doesn't ruin milk for this kid for the rest of his life.
He's like, I'm never drinking this again.
So
wow.
Yeah, that was my high. That was funny.
And did you get a shirt at Dairy Daddies?
Yeah. It
looked
I
funny.
don't know if I'll ever wear this again, but it was
Send it
funny
to me
for
if you don't.
Honestly, I think I might. You might get a surprise shirt in the mail because I got another one that was like more subdued. But the one that a couple of us got and wore while we were handing out milk, their hashtag is get milked.
Oh, God.
Kind of like get smoked or like, something like that, but it's get milked.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Actually, Emily, sorry. I know I'm really going off on my high.
That's funny.
But I knew wearing get milked was a risk. Okay, obviously it's across my chest. Like I say no more. I need to say no more. And I saw these little turds. I would call them. They had to have been 14, 15, like in the phase
the worst
where
age of teenagers.
These little, they were little boys. They were starting to like, I don't know,
confident.
Feel confident, and they walked past like 2 or 3 times, and they kept like poking each other and like pointing at us.
You're like, oh my God, I'm so cute.
Well, no, I was like, what are these little these little turds gonna
doing?
Do? These punks. Which is also, I'm like, God, I'm so old. And the one finally said, fine, I'll ask her, dude. Look, shut up, dude.
Oh my God.
And he came up to me. He said, I have a question. I'm like, okay, what's up? He goes, how can I get milked? And then winked at me.
Oh
I
my
was like,
God, the
you,
confidence.
I said, well, young sir, you can get milked by taking a free glass of our milk and then telling your mom to add it to her grocery list. And he was like,
Yeah.
the other guys were, oh, and he was so embarrassed. But I was
When you
like,
brought the mom in, he was like, oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. So,
Boom, mic drop. You're like, screw you.
yeah, I was like, don't come at me.
I'll come at you in
You
my
little
elder
kid.
millennial way.
So
I'll
it
make you
probably
feel
wasn't.
more uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, and then the one guy, they had their, up on the screen whenever players would play, they had their favorite milk that they chose. That was like their fact.
Mm-hmm.
The one kid said breast.
Oh my God.
The first time
That's,
that came up on the screen, like the stadium booed.
yeah, like who
And
says
I was just
that?
we were like, no, that's
That's
okay.
too far.
You have a very large, wide line
Yeah, and
on
you
this team.
crossed it.
You crossed it. So I
Right.
digress. That was fun, which leads me to my low.
Yes.
Was just that this week, like the first half of the week, I did a really good job of waking up, walking before meetings, like really having good meals, good breakfast, drinking lots of water. Towards the end, but I didn't sleep well the
Yeah.
whole trip, and then the last 2 days, I mean, obviously, like I had hot dogs and beer at the baseball game,
Yep.
and then the night before we had like a team dinner at a brewery. So I'm just ready for the week ahead to sleep better and to get back on track with eating. So even just those 2 days really wrecked me. And I
Yeah.
think it might have been sitting a lot too. So, but yeah, Emmy, you have something in here for your low, which I know you'll go
Also
with
with
your
children.
high first. Also with children.
Neighborhood kids, the
So
scoundrels.
I'm excited to hear how yours compares.
Yeah, well, my highs and lows probably aren't as funny, but that's okay. So I would say for my highs, yesterday, so we record this on the weekend, but yesterday I got to help with a farm tour on, I guess you could say my family's farm, like my family-in-law's dairy farm in
You can say your
Georgia.
family. It is your family
I
farm.
know. Oh
Isn't
my
that
gosh.
crazy?
I know, it's weird. I still don't always know how to say it because I'm like not trying to take claim to the farm, but I'm married in
Just
now, so I am.
say your family's farm.
Yeah, so that's my family's dairy farm.
Eileen and Monica, if you're listening and disagree, just shoot us a text.
No, they won't. And Eileen says she always needs to catch up. So, Eileen, good for you if you're actually listening to this. But
we love you. We heart you. Okay, continue.
Shout out to the fam. Yes, they have the dairy farm in Georgia, and their elementary school, I guess this is their second year of doing it. It was almost like a week long ag kind of summer camp. So the majority of the week, they're going to be at the school just learning different lessons. Different professionals are coming in talking about different types of agriculture. Because in Georgia, I mean, everywhere, but in Georgia, there's maybe not as much dairy as other states, but there's so much agriculture and a lot of different types of agriculture. It's very, very cool. And so the last day they did the field trip, and they came to the dairy farm, and then nearby there's also a blueberry farm. And so they split it up into two. Yeah. So again, lots of cool agriculture. And they split it into two groups. The first group that we got was second to fifth grade or fourth grade. And then the first group was the kindergarten and first grade. And it was about 70 kids total. And it was really fun. Kids are, of course, just kind of chaos in a fun way where they all just...
These are like kids, though. Like, they're so cute and funny.
Yeah, and they just, well, if it's our first time at a farm, I mean, they're just seeing everything, asking questions, like, oh, it smells, they're pooping, oh my gosh. So,
or you're trying to say, time, like, a cow sticks out their tongue that's, like, so long. Yeah.
Yeah, one kid actually said to me, he's like, I know facts about dairy cows. I was like, what is it? He said, their cows are really long. I was like, they are.
Their what are really long?
Their tongues.
Oh, you said their cows are really long.
Oh, gosh, brain. It's early while we're recording this. The cows are really long. No, glad you corrected that because that makes zero sense.
I was like,
yes.
What?
He was talking about their tongues. But with kids, it's funny because it's like, how many facts do we try to throw out here? Because these kids really just are not listening, in big groups. No.
No. At that age, it's like, let's pick like one thing about the animals and one thing about milk.
Yeah,
You know?
so we got to show them the barn. And in Georgia, in the southeast, since it's very warm year round, most of these things are wide open. So you can really see the free
Yeah.
stalls, the parlor without having to go in them, which is nice. And then they got to see two calves. We brought out one
Yeah.
of our Jersey cows, Serena, because she is like a puppy
It's a
dog.
character.
Yeah, so they got to see all of this, and it was very fun. And the older group, both groups were really fun, but I would even say the youngest group, I thought they were going to be more chaotic, but they were more fun, honestly, because they're still at the age of where they like they really almost look up to adults in terms of oh my gosh, whereas the older kids, right, they're starting to get to the
Yeah.
age of oh
I'm too cool for this. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really fun though, but we told the second group kind of too early that there was ice cream. And so the whole time, like, where's the ice cream? Where's the ice cream? I was like, I totally messed up by telling them way too early that there was ice cream. So
You got to surprise and delight with that age.
I know, because then they kept asking, like, what's next? What's next? And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm not prepared. I don't know how to entertain you. But I think they all had fun. So yes, that was my high in terms of ag and dairy. And then also, I am a Dairy Girl Fitness, but one of my other highs was I had a deadlift PR this week, and I just thought it'd be fun to throw that in there. I was able to pull 235 pounds.
Damn.
I know. And
Get it,
do
Emmy.
it for 4 reps twice. So it was fun. Deadlifts are one of my favorite lifts because it just makes me feel very strong when I'm in the gym. I'm like, all right, man, I could put you on this platform and deadlift you. So stay away. I wouldn't. But.
I can confirm that Emily is good at deadlifting real human beings, especially
it.
after she's had alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
Usually when that happens, I run and hide behind our mom.
Yeah, because I could deadlift Becca easy.
Emily,
Multiple reps.
I mean, yeah, because I'm so skinny.
I'm so small and petite.
Emily could deadlift me for like 100 reps.
I'm just so small. I'm like the weight of the bar. Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's funny. Kids, you know what? The biggest takeaway for them, it's like they had a positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
They'll associate that, as a fun childhood memory.
Yeah.
Dairy will remain nostalgic to them because they've had that experience. And then they got to have a dairy product, which they're reminded in the moment that what they just experienced resulted in ice cream, which is literally something that's impossible to give up.
I know. And there were, some of the kids that ask the questions individually. And so you do get to have some fun, random conversations. But also, speaking of children, that leads into my low. So this isn't my low. I wrote it down as had a run-in with some neighborhood kids. And it's not anything dramatic of any sorts. But so we're in a townhouse now. And there's, like a chunk of families. And we're at the end of the street. And we have the end unit. And so there's kind of like a little yard behind us, you could say, on all the townhouses. But on ours, there's a pathway that leads out to like a pond and a pathway. And so it's kind of the play area. We're in the crosshairs of all these kids running around, which, hey, they've got to entertain themselves. Totally get that, especially now that school's out. But we all have porches on the back of our townhouse, and they're not screened in. So, if you want, like, the kids could walk on the porch or look into the big sliding doors. And Hudson, our dog's a golden retriever. He's a sweetheart most of the time. But when these kids, they'll like play a lot of hide and seek. So they're always just in our yard, almost hiding and sneaking around from the other kids. And obviously not to us. But Hudson will just be like, and he'll just sit there and kind of growl at him because they're technically creeping around. He's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And it was one of these mornings this week. I can't remember what day. And they were just standing there. And Hudson like barked at him once or twice. And it was a group of girls. And then they started like, oh my gosh, it's a dog. Because he had his face up to the door. And then they started like, they came onto my porch. And then they started looking inside. And they didn't see me. Like our lights were on, but they didn't see me. And they just kept staring in. And I was like, okay, whatever. This is creepy. Go away.
Yeah.
But
kids are so nosy.
Right. And then the one little girl, though, like knocked on the window. and ran away, and I yelled. I was like, "Don't do that!" I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I feel like such a crotchety old grandma." And I
I
was on the
think
phone with Ruben the whole time. I was like, "You won't believe what these kids are doing right now." They knocked on the window and then like ran away, and I was like, "Don't do that."
that's it's so fun. Okay, we used to ding dong ditch, right? Now
Right? So I was
looking
like, these little
now
fuckers.
looking back, wow, that was really terrible what we used to might do, because if I would have
I
been
know.
inside, I would have thought like it was someone trying to rob us, but it was
Yeah,
just
and
some
I could see
little
them
kid.
too, though. So at least I could see that they were about to like harass me. So yeah, I yelled at them though. I was like, I wasn't gonna say anything. Then they knocked, and I was like, I want you to know I'm in here. I'm literally watching you. I was almost gonna.
You should have like
blind...
spoke out of your Ring camera. Don't you have one of
Oh,
those?
so they were in the back. The Ring camera's in the front.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, we have blinds, and they were still across, but they were open, so that's why they could see in. So I almost thought of just like popping my head through them and be like, "Boo!" and scaring them. But how creepy would that be? Or if I quickly open the sliding glass door, I was like, "Get out!"
I feel like one that would be hilarious. It's like straight out of the movie. But I feel
then they'd see me and they'd tell their parents, like, "It was this girl." And I'm like, they can't see me.
they would probably just like continue to terrorize you. If
Right?
they were
That's
brave,
what I thought.
if they were brave enough to come onto your porch,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna just continue retaliating. Then you're gonna be in this like civil war,
right?
In your neighborhood.
Exactly. That's what I thought. And that's why I was like, I'm not gonna do anything because I don't want these kids. I don't want to be the talk. They're
That's
like,
funny.
that girl in the end is so weird.
Yeah.
But I did yell at them. I don't know if they actually heard me, but they did knock and kind of run away when I was like, "Don't do that." So that was my run-in with the neighborhood kids, and
they're probably talking so much smack on you.
I hope so.
To all their friends, like, "Oh, this old lady yelled at us. She's so mean."
Well, they didn't come back on the porch, which, again, I don't care if they play, but like, get off my porch. Don't stare into my house.
Yeah.
Creeps. Anyways.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of kids, there are a
Yeah,
lot involved
we love kids, by the way.
in 4-H.
Yeah, wait, we shouldn't be talking smack. Because
listen, we like our kids. The young adults that are involved in 4-H and FFA that we know.
They're great.
They're great.
But yeah, so off track. But yeah, with the main episode, or gosh, wow, my words are just so jumbled. I'm just so thrown off by these children. The episode and the content we want to talk about really is about 4-H and FFA. And again, with the kickoff of summer, so 4-H and FFA, it's truly a year-round thing, but summertime is really when there's a lot of the fun activities. Again, a lot of fairs, a lot of contests, a lot of things involved. Even with like universities, they'll do a lot with extension, and it's just a really memorable time in a lot of kids' life. I know it's something that we look back so fondly on, and it's such a way to get involved in so many different unique ways. And so for anyone who's listening and may not recognize what 4-H and FFA is, Becca will give like a quick little rundown of what they stand for and such. But in short, both of these are youth organizations within agriculture. And they are different ways to get involved with, again, many facets of agriculture. It could be animal agriculture, so it can be with dairy, beef. I know there's like bunnies, chickens, rabbits, pigs, whatever it may be. Or I think you can even get involved with things like quilting. There's, scrapbooking. There's so many cool ways for both of these things. And it allows you to meet other kids within agriculture as well, or maybe not in agriculture, and just do a lot of different competitions, take on a lot of responsibility, and really just learn a lot of important lessons. And I think it's just they're both very amazing organizations for kids who may not grow up in agriculture or may not have a pathway in otherwise to really get involved in, let's say, even untraditional ways. And I know for us, we grew up in the dairy industry, but we weren't directly on dairy farms. And so this was even our way more so to have more direct involvement with the animal specifically. Because of 4-H and FFA, we raised show heifers at our house for dairy, and it was our way to, again, kind of have our own unique way to really still feel like we get to stay in the dairy industry, we get to have an impact and really have a fun way of doing it.
And that's what the 4-H is interesting. So 4-H literally stands for 4 H's
Yeah.
that they focus on within the organization, which are head, heart, hands, and health. Which I remember at our meetings, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance and then the 4-H pledge, which talks about how all four of those are like how we're taking action on them, like my health for a better community and hands for better
I know
service.
we
Oh my
should.
God, I'm
I
butchering
need
it.
to reminisce on
Actually,
that.
wait, no,
Remember what it was.
I think I have it.
I don't think I ever actually had it memorized, even by the end of my time in 4-H,
No.
which
It's
was a lot of time.
Oh yeah, this is like nice. We should know this. It's
I do
nice.
remember it now. I'm thinking about it.
Here, want to try to say it with me?
I pledge
my head to clear thinking,
my heart
to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
I know, the world always caught me. I was like, yeah, we're taking over the world.
So that's what that stands for, and that one is, I mean, so much bigger than agriculture. I think it really emphasizes on the community aspect. And then FFA, Em and I were both saying, okay, so it originally was started as the Future Farmers of America, like club or organization. And we thought that there was a moment where everyone just calls it FFA, though. That we thought they had rebranded just to FFA. We thought that they had removed,
the farmer aspect.
Because it's a bit bigger than that now, and it's more inclusive than you have to be a farmer. Not that it was exclusive before, but we looked it up, and on their website it still says it stands for Future Farmers of America as a nod to their heritage. So according to their website, that's what it says. But hey, listen, I love that our friends and our listeners always come through and fact check us. And then we can confirm when we were incorrect on our Instagram stories. So if someone has like some insider information, let us know. But what I think is so interesting about these is that both of them are just so much bigger than dairy. And I mean, even agriculture in general, like 4-H, like Em was saying, you could do gardening, cooking, quilting, etc. But both organizations, at the core of it, how they operate is that they both require you to have a project that you complete and you report on. So ours was always our dairy animals were our project. I remember our cousin Isaac, his project was peacocks.
Which I totally forgot that they were his project. That's how they got on the farm.
Yeah, that was his FFA project. So you and I always did dairy for both 4-H and FFA. Isaac did the peacocks for FFA. And I don't think the same ones still live on the farm today. I don't really know the lifespan of peacocks.
Me either.
But they have bred rapidly, is what we will say. And there are still a lot of like, they make the craziest sound. It's like Kevin from Up.
Yes, I was going to say, if you ever watch that is a peacock sound.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, I guess. He is kind of a peacock.
Really distressed meow.
Like that. But different. It's like that, but different. But I won't do it again.
I think that, it's just so funny that they still live on our Graham's farm to this day,
They are.
Isaac and I.
Long living.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated high school 14 years ago.
Ooh.
Isaac probably graduated, 13 years ago. So they've been there for a long time.
He would have been Wait, I was 11 years ago at this point.
Yeah, because he was a year younger than me.
Yep. Wow.
So, yeah. But I'm curious, like, how would you explain your involvement in 4-H and FFA?
So, for us, and the cool thing about 4-H and FFA is they're similar but different. So 4-H is something you can get involved in at a very young age. So I think 8 years old is the start of it. And then FFA is more so, I don't know if it's everywhere, but I know at our schools, like once you hit 9th grade
is when you is 9th grade.
Okay. So again, both are great and you can do both at the same time once you're at that older age. But 4-H is a way to get involved much younger. And with that, FFA is more so involved within the high school kind of school system, and then 4-H is involved within counties and communities. And so ours is Valera County 4-H. Shout out. We had just, I don't know, obviously we're all biased, but we had such a good group. We had such
We
great
did.
leaders. And for us, again, we were very involved in the dairy aspect of it. And I even think like our 4-H club was kind of a dairy 4-H club. Now, dang, I'm trying to like
It
reminisce
was,
on
yeah, it was the
memories.
Morson's Cove Dairy 4-H Club. Yes, so
Okay.
you could have 4-H clubs that were specific to the activity at
Yeah.
hand.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Morse code. Man, you're just bringing up all the memories. This is so fun. So for us, again, within 4-H specifically, this is where when we started off with showing dairy cows or dairy cattle. And this was our way to get involved in a lot of the local fairs. And you could also take this to a larger kind of like national level as well. And so we started in the show circuit, I guess you could say. And this is when we are raising the animals and then you are taking them to a competition to basically then compete against other kids. And then gradually, once we got older, I can't remember the exact age that you can start judging dairy cattle, but then we also got into dairy cattle judging, which
I
is
think that's 8 as well.
it?
Yeah.
Dang, we started early, man. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, I would say, kind of the main ways we were involved. And I had to put this funny trend in here. If you're a Swiftie or even if you're just on social media in general, she has the song "Who's Afraid of Little Old Me?" And there's the quote like, "You wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised me." And the trend is kind of, adults like us throwing back to different organizations they were involved in when they were a kid, whether it's some sort of crazy sporting event, dance competitions, whatever it may be. And when I hear this quote, I think of me just being scared shitless before going into the ring to show or having to judge and then give my first set of reasons. I was like, nah, y'all wouldn't have lasted in this because I was terrified, but obviously in the end, so worth it.
Whenever you were like, let's put in that comparison, what I thought of was my first dairy judging contest.
Oh, so
And
scary.
whether I was 8 or 9 years old, it doesn't really make a difference. I was put on the senior team. So you have
Oh,
junior, intermediate, and senior. And the
yep,
difference for those friends who don't understand this stuff is that you give reasons, which is basically memorizing your reasoning for placing animals in a
yep.
certain way, which would be similar to a dog show
Mhm.
set of judges explaining why a dog won, right? But you have to
Yep.
like memorize it and give it. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
give like 3 or 4 sets of these things. And I'm 8 or I did not, let's just say I did not place very high. But I'm like, in this room with teenagers, just little old me, like, oh my God.
Yeah, literally
Giving
the
reasons.
asylum. It
Literally.
is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved how you bring that up because, yeah, when we talk about it, it's so obvious. That's like, yeah, you're showing dairy cattle. But people are like, what does that mean? So
Yeah.
when you're showing cows or any animal really, you are judging them based on their look, like conformation. So kind
Mm-hmm.
of what they look like to the typical scorecard of an ideal dairy cow or dairy heifer. And so again, you can show them for based upon what they look like. You can do showmanship, which is basically how well you lead these animals. And then
Mm-hmm.
judging is when you are in a contest of judging a class of 4 animals. And again, you can place them in any way you see fit. Be it once you get to the intermediate and senior levels, you have to start giving reasons. And why it's so scary, you may think like, oh, that's not that bad. You just have to talk. You have to memorize it. You are not supposed to look at your notes. And so if you look at your
Yeah.
notes, I think you're probably automatically docked points. I don't know the exact
Um,
percentage, but it's very frowned upon.
yeah, you know what? Yeah, you are.
Yeah. I
Usually
like you're
people
still
who,
counted, but it's just
yeah,
very I don't know the
typically
score
in
cut.
my experience as being the official who would like give, so you're given a score on how well you do. And there's a couple of
Mhm.
factors that go into that, but typically I'll ask other people who are scoring the kids or the
Mhm.
part, the people participating, in saying, okay, what do you do in this situation, what do you do in this situation, so we're all scoring fairly, so that it's
Mhm.
not every kid has a fair chance of, okay, they're going to lose the same amount of points if they look at their notes no matter who is the person scoring them. So we try to have an element of fairness, but I think you know you know how this translated into our adult lives. There's a couple of things. I think that one, for showing, it taught you the responsibility of taking care of an animal and the
Mm-hmm.
importance and how to focus on the health and well-being, and teaching you a respect for these animals that give
Yeah.
back so much more. And then it was also, competition. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how there were different types of competitions with your animals that if you put in the hard work, then you will be rewarded for it. And then dairy judging, I think another element of it is that these reasons. So you are saying, okay, there's 4 animals in a class. How should we place these from best to worst? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have to have the confidence to make that decision, and then the
Mm-hmm.
confidence to explain why you did that. So I think
Yeah.
that even in my professional career, when I public speak or whenever I go into a situation where I might not have the perfect answer or people might not agree with me, I know that I've been thoughtful, I've been analytical, and I have my reasons set. So I still
Mm-hmm.
even apply this today. If
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for a meeting or a presentation, it's thinking through, okay, why do I feel this way? Why do I have this opinion? Why did I do this for our project? Why did I make this advertising or product decision, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely still use it in my everyday, day to day life. I think reasons and judging probably more for me, just
Yeah.
because I'm in more of a corporate role.
Yeah.
But the 4-H aspect of it and taking care of animals, I feel like gives me credit with my friends or the people that I promote dairy and agriculture to. So it does give me a sense of credibility in talking about dairy and food. So I'm curious, how do you think you still use the lessons you've learned today in your adult life and
Mm-hmm.
career?
Oh my gosh, so much because again, you're at such a transformative age that's where you're really growing, that's where you're really developing. And let's also be honest and say that if either of our parents are listening, we were probably such buttheads about like wanting to do certain things.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like, oh hey, you're gonna go judge and you're gonna give reasons. It's like, no, please, no, no, no. So thank y'all for continuing to encourage us to do it because
Shout
it
out.
it can be absolutely terrifying. But I think what you said as well, just learning to be confident in yourself and growing the confidence of yourself. So first off, just having to trust your own abilities is a huge part of 4-H and FFA. And then of course the responsibility of raising an animal, showing them, working at a show, being involved in agriculture. I mean, it is a little bit more of a, labor intensive industry than others. And
Hmm.
yeah, just learning to articulate your thoughts and also then defend those thoughts in a constructive way, kind of like you said on reasons. So for anyone listening again who may not be familiar with it, when you are judging in a contest, you place the class and you
Hmm.
can get, scored on your placing and if it's correct, but then your reasons is basically again the defense of your placing. And even if you can maybe potentially place the class pretty wrong, if you defended it well and your thoughts make sense, you can still do decent there. So it's a way to again really just share your thoughts in a way that okay, maybe this wasn't right, but this is why I saw it this way. And I know
Yeah.
before I think at Penn State during one of the spring contests, which it was always in March, it was always super cold, super early in the
Yeah.
morning, and it's like, oh gosh,
And the animals were so hard to judge because they were all honestly just not very,
they weren't pretty.
they weren't pretty animals, and they were all ugly for their they
Yes,
were
but
they had beautiful souls but ugly bodies for their own reasons. So it was like,
yeah. Yeah, just not the most ideal conditions, but again,
no.
it helps you become a better judge
Yeah,
and
it really
defend
does.
your reasons. And I know there was one class that I just did not place correctly at all. And I think I talked like not a perfect set of reasons, but I scored very high on reasons. And I was like, okay, not
Yep.
bad. But beside the point, and me gloating right there for a second, I think aside from the public speaking, of course, the confidence, and just taking on the responsibility of different projects, I think where FFA and 4-H have helped us tremendously as well is relationships and
Yeah,
travel. I
for
know
sure.
so much of my travel And so many of the relationships I've built have been through different youth ag organizations, and really specifically 4-H and FFA, because 4-H is your way to get involved young, and then FFA is your way when you're older to also get involved. You're meeting other kids in surrounding areas, or if you're going to the state level, national level, it is a way to really get involved in high level organizations and potentially even then lead into careers. And so
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm just very grateful for both. And again, the connections that they've been able to really, really forge for us.
Yeah. And a lot, we have some opportunities to give back and volunteer as adults as well. And Emmy, the last thing I'll say about judging. So obviously I feel like
Yeah, that was our
all this stuff,
main that was our
what,
main involvement really, was showing, but
yeah,
judging was huge for us.
it was. And one last thing that I thought of while you were sharing your story is that how you were talking about that reasons are a way to give justification to what
Mm-hmm.
you've done, is that we won't get into the nitty-gritty details of this, but whenever you are judging the conformation of an animal, there are different weights of, let's just say, the anatomy of an animal that you are judging, and
Mm-hmm.
different parts of the animal have different weights, and you need to
Yes.
take those things into consideration of,
Mm.
okay, how is this animal going to be an ideal dairy cow that lives a long, comfortable life? She produces a lot of milk. She has a great reproductive lifespan and makes lots of healthy babies, or gives birth
Mm-hmm.
to lots of healthy babies. And so I think that having to be that analytical in understanding the weight of different elements of this process based on the outcome that you want to have, which is this cow that delivers and lives a long, wonderful life, is one that's just a skill that's hard to have.
Yeah.
And you can take it into a lot of other aspects of your life whenever you have to make a decision or you're working on a project. And I think it also taught us a lot about animal welfare and taking care of the animals, as well as being able
Mm-hmm.
to better understand and recognize what is good and what is not good and what is the solution to fix it. So the more I think about dairy judging, for what a little turd I probably was, having to give up summer weekends or college weekends even as we continued,
Yeah. The collegiate level.
apparently I'm really thankful for it. So.
I mean, no, that's what I'm saying. At the beginning, of course, when you're a kid and you have to do anything like that, especially public speaking
Mhm.
in any capacity, it is scary as heck, but it just forces you to learn to be more confident in your decision, and really, again, kind of justifying that. And I even know we both probably had quick involvements in, like, I know we did Crete speaking and FFA. I did land judging, I think, one time. I had no
Oh,
idea
I'm
what I was doing.
so bad at it. There's so much chemistry that goes into soil judging.
Yeah, I was like,
I
shout out to the people that do that.
I went once and I literally guessed and I got last place.
I know. I went just to see all the other kids in high school from other schools,
Yeah,
and I
it
was
was
like,
something to
"Ooh,
do.
who's here?" Um, but yeah, I would say those are our kind of main involvements, and that's just where you have to give a huge shout out to all of the parents, all of the volunteers, because I mean, 4-H,
Mm-hmm.
FFA. I know FFA is like teachers and such, but even yet, there's so many people that volunteer their time to help the youth really progress in all of these different areas in their projects. So the parents, the volunteers, the teachers, the coaches. I mean, I know at times it can probably
Yeah.
feel like a thankless job, and you're probably dealing with a lot of turds like us who don't want to do it or have an attitude, but it's amazing what these organizations can do and the people involved. And I know
Yeah.
we just got to work with the best people as well, even though at the time we
Yeah.
probably were like, you are the worst for making us do this.
Well, that was primarily probably our dad and our pap for making us dairy judge. But I remember our leaders were, shout out Muffy Bechtel,
Mm-hmm.
Jen Metzler, and our mom, right?
Yeah.
Karen.
Yeah.
Shout
Yeah.
out
They were, I
Karen.
think, the 4-H, what do you call them? Leaders,
Like
or just
volunteer
leaders?
leaders. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, and then even today, Robin Bechtel, who's like literally, it's so crazy seeing Robin now kind of take over some of the stuff that her mom used to do. I'm like, they're both, it's crazy that I was in
Yeah.
4-H with Robin and now she's leading it. And then I know Yvette Longenecker and Tammy Stoltz still do a great job, who are kind of the generation that just followed us. So they all do. It's just, I mean, it is so much time that you put in. And one of my most profound memories are the baked goods that Muffy
Oh
Bendel
my
made.
gosh,
That was the
yes.
best part of
It made
dairy
it worth
judging
it.
practices, right?
Made it worth
and
it.
4-H meetings. We got Richie's ice cream, we got pizza, we got cookies. But I think that before I get too far into some of my favorite
Into the
things,
rabbit hole.
I would love to hear, what are some of your best and worst, or let's say most embarrassing moments in 4-H or FFA?
Okay, so I don't know. Should I start with my worst or my best?
I would start with your worst, because my best, I think, is similar to yours.
Yeah, we kind of got to have similar
So then,
experiences.
let's do that.
Okay, so worst, again, aside from us being young and thinking that judging and giving reasons was the worst thing in the world, one thing that I remember just so freaking specifically, well, one that I didn't write down, was my first time going into the ring when I was 8 years old. And this was just at our little local county show, which is small, but at the time it felt like world shattering. I was so scared. Her name was Junebug. So I just remember crying outside of the ring, like, I don't want to go in. I don't want to do this. And then I did it, and it was fun. So not necessarily the worst, but I just remember my first time going into the ring. I was terrified. And reasonably so, apparently, because then within the next few years, I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I was probably in middle school, I think. I had this one, at this time, she was a heifer, Amaretta. She was Satan's spawn, I think, probably. So she wasn't a terribly mean animal, like at home or in the pack, but once you put a halter on this heifer and put her in the ring, she turned into a very mean creature. And what I remember specifically with Amaretta, and I feel like that name in general, like Amaretta, that's just an evil kind of mean name. So we were in the Morrison Cove show, and again, not a ton of animals. I mean, it's always a really fun show.
Yeah.
But we were going around the ring, and the whole time, I think she may have also been in heat, which the animals start to act a little kooky. I mean, we know ladies around ovulation, we get a little kooky. So
Yep.
I was just like, oh no, I can just tell. She's throwing me around. She's having an attitude. And these are big animals. They are strong. And you're a kid. They can toss you around pretty easy. And I was
And their heads are so big and strong.
Yes.
They're huge.
And Amaretta's, I just, at that time, felt ginormous. And I was already probably like terrified of going into the ring with her. I was like, I don't want to do this. And she was really just throwing me around. And we had two incidences in that one ring at the same time. She started headbutting first off. One of the other heifers beside her, they were in line, and they literally just started going at each other. I was like, I don't know what to do. And then within that same
panic
incident,
doesn't help. I feel like they can smell your fear.
I know, we always say that. I don't know if it's true, but it probably doesn't help.
An alpha female, she smells fear. She probably knew it was her chance to.
Gosh, I'm gonna destroy this little girl for thinking she can lead me around the ring. Destroyed. But yeah, so I don't know if it was within that same exact incident of the headbutting, but in that ring, she also escaped her halter, out of her halter as well. And I just remember standing there and I was like sobbing. I was just crying and I didn't know what to do with myself. And luckily, a lot of the grown men came in and got her and it was fine. But I still remember it to this day. The worst showing experience was that stupid heifer Amaretta. I never showed her as a cow. I really don't remember what happened to her, which honestly I don't care because she was not a nice animal.
I think
so that's mine.
I think she probably just lived a life of production instead of production and pampering.
Yeah, she doesn't deserve she deserves a healthy, happy life, but not the extra pampering that you get from a 4-H kid. Rude.
That is like, I think every kid's worst fear, showing animals, because also then you would have a animal running loose on the road and down in downtown Martinsburg. It was just, oh, this is not good. This is
no.
Yeah.
Well, we should just stick on the theme then of worst stories since our best kind of link together. And your worst is even funnier than mine. It's kind of like a fever dream potentially.
I know. I told Em, I don't know if this actually happened, or
it literally says in the notes, was this even real?
Or if it's just something
you made up.
Like I made up because it's so crazy.
We need one of our parents to confirm this if this actually happened.
Well, I've told a lot of people this story, so hopefully it's real.
They're like, you're a liar.
But so, okay, but I have seen, like, okay, whenever you're at a show, you have cows basically lined up, and they're on a bedded pack, and so their front is facing in, and then where we're walking past is their back end.
Booties. The booties.
And I just remember this one time, like, sometimes cows have really runny manure.
Just like people. They can just go anywhere they want.
As I was like behind them, because you have to catch poop in buckets when they poop
At shows.
At shows, yes.
Not
so
at like every dairy farm.
It's a way to conserve your straw and your resources, right?
Keep them clean.
And keep them clean. It's a ridiculous thing to do if you're watching it from the outside. But this cow literally projectile pooped across the aisle.
And it happens.
And it like hit me in the chest.
Oh God!
I've been shot.
Falls down and cries.
It hit me in the chest, and like obviously it knocked me back, and then I tripped and fell
Obviously,
back.
like that's so obvious that poop can knock you back. Obviously, it hurt. Like, oh, okay.
I fell backward and tripped into a bucket of water.
Mm-hmm. It sounds so plausible, Becca.
It sounds so ridiculous.
I wasn't there. So I can't confirm nor deny.
I don't even know if I was there.
It's a fever dream that now you've told yourself so many times. It's like that's
real.
Happened.
It's definitely real.
Happened.
I want it to be real. I remember it was in Harrisburg. Like whenever we were still down in that lower barn before the big flood, and we stayed up in the upper one. But I just remember because sometimes, this is not part of the story, but sometimes when they have that, like more runny manure, they'll cough too. Like I've seen people get hit, like they'll cough, and you think you have the bucket, and then it gets an innocent stampfire.
Yeah, it gets dangerous.
I just remember, that projectile poop coming manure, and like hitting me right in the chest.
Yeah, that's
that is like
intense
the
one.
Craziest. Yeah, and I remember, like I would have been young too because
do you remember
we were still in that lower bar. Oh my God, no! And plus, we were always tied into strings with other people.
Yeah, that would just be funny if you can remember the cow specifically that did this to you.
No, now that I would be making up, like 100% would be.
You
making
could say
up
something, be like, not real.
No, not real.
Well, that is a great one. I'm sure, honestly, anyone listening who's involved in showing in some capacity has probably had an experience like this, or a very close call.
It's not that unlikely.
No,
it's not.
If they cough too, it's like oh no, and I've seen many experiences like that. It shoots across the aisle. You're like, oh my God. Poop.
So, I mean, we've been shit on many a times. But
literally and figuratively.
I think, talking about more positives, in general, I just loved the process of getting ready for these shows where we would go and show our animals. And then I remember at the Morrison's Cove 4-H Dairy Show, or what we used to call the Mini Madison, which is a nod to World Dairy Expo, which we will talk about another day if you don't know what that is. But we would set up, we would have a display that had all of our animals' names and their information. And we did. And we had this like little pigeon or pelican
seagull. A pigeon, a beach pigeon. Why?
A seagull a seagull basically is a beach pigeon.
Okay, but they're different. Okay. We didn't have a pigeon perched up on our.
This pigeon was closer than my first guess, which was pelican. Okay, so our seagull. Anyways, we always had one on the end. It always got knocked off by animals. But after we would set up our display, our animals would come in, we'd wash them, make sure they were clean. We're covered in dirt, dust. We probably had cow poop under our nails. Just
definitely.
Dirty.
Nice and grimy.
We would always order a Big Daddy pizza in wings.
Yep.
And then sometimes maybe a taco pizza, I remember, from Fox's. Yes. And we would just all sit around and then we'd have our Mountain Dew and just devour it. We would always have Mountain Dew because yeah, I don't know. I just remember that being
That was the best part.
so much fun because it was so rewarding after that day. But from a dairy judging perspective, Emmy and I both succeeded to the level where we were we won at local levels and then we won at state levels, and were selected to be a part of this 4-H and collegiate, I think just 4-H and collegiate dairy judging
Mm-hmm.
trip that got to go to Europe and learn about
Yes.
agriculture and judge and do all of these things. And Em and I both had similar but unique experiences whenever we got to go. So mine, I went with our dad, and Em
And how
went
many
with
years
our
ago
mom.
was yours?
Oh my God.
Mine was
I,
10 years ago this summer. I went in the summer of 2014, which is crazy.
I think I went in 2017. So almost 20 years
No, I
ago.
went in
Or I
2014.
mean 2007.
Oh my gosh,
Almost
really?
20 years ago. Maybe?
Ew. I honestly, who knows? How old were
Yeah.
you when you went
Well,
at
I mean,
least?
if you went, what, 10 years ago, you said?
Yeah, you
So
probably
then
only
mine
went a
was
few
probably
more years
like
before me.
14 or 15 because I was 17 when I went. So, like a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And we got to go to Scotland, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, um, Germany. Oh, there
Did
was,
you do
I think,
England?
in England. Yeah, duh,
Okay, yeah.
London. Oh my God. So 6 countries. We went to like the, oh God, I can't remember what
Royal Highland Show?
the Royal Highland Show in Scotland, which
My
was
favorite.
unbelievable. Like it was so cool, and so that was awesome. And that's where we participated in a dairy judging contest, which was absolute chaos. We did not do well,
I
but it was
won.
okay. Well, Emily's much better than I. I got my butt whooped. And so I was probably more focused on drinking Pimp's cups and betting on
Yes.
horse jumping. And
Yeah.
so, and then we stayed with a host family in Luxembourg.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I remember the family's name was Holstein, but it was spelled like Holstein, like the cow. I'm doing this because I'm just remembering the
Yeah.
hat that I used to have,
Yeah.
but it had a H in it, and their farm was literally in the middle of this old European village. It was crazy. I think
That's
they
so cool.
did away with the host families because there were probably
What's a big
probably
group?
it's a big group. I think, who knows, maybe some kids or people just weren't quite, it was maybe too big of a liability the longer it went on, or just too much to organize. And so because I remember we had some crazy experiences on that trip. One of them was the farmhand was supposed to take us back from the Luxembourg like fair, and he got too drunk and left without us.
Oh, well, that's not ideal.
So luckily we found another person who took us home. But so yeah, I think it was probably just a liability, but it was really cool to have that experience, to go on the tours. We saw a dairy show over there, and it created this kind of global experience for something that was so local for us before. So
Yeah.
um where all did you go on your trip?
Yeah, so for us, I went 10 years ago and I got to go when I was 19. So this trip, it's 4-H kids, FFA, and then I think to your like tech colleges, and basically you have to compete at the national level. If you're in the top 3 teams of each division, you get to go. So we both went when we were on the state 4-H teams for Pennsylvania. So shout
Yep.
out to Chad Deckow from Penn State professor. He always leads the 4-H team for Penn State. And also shout out to Dale Alver because we also got to judge with him at the
Yeah.
collegiate level of Penn State. So those two were transformative in our judging experiences and our expertise for sure.
Yep.
So when we went, we got to do, and again, it's also so fun because you're going with a bunch of kids your age.
Yeah.
And it's always a really solid group. So you're going with kids all over the country, going to a completely new country. And we did Scotland, England, our first week, because it's a 2-week trip. And then the second week, we did a full week in Ireland. And I just absolutely freaking loved it. By the end of the week, I felt like I was picking up on all these accents. I had a nice blend going and I just wanted to move there. And we were so lucky because I know when a lot of people go over it can be cloudy, it can be kind of rainy because it's always in the summer. We had legit perfect weather, and Ireland specifically was just sunny and
Yeah.
warm the entire week. It was amazing. And we got to, like you, do the Royal Highland show in Scotland, which I would go back just for that. It is
Yeah. In a heartbeat.
so much fun. And then we also went to Ireland to, well, again, we were there for a week, but we judged a show in Ireland. And that was also really fun to
Yeah.
just get to see dairy and agriculture in a different way, but also the same. It's like the same, but different, and just reminds you how freaking cool it is to be involved in dairy and involved in agriculture. I mean, we wouldn't have got to have these trips if it weren't for dairy and to get to connect with people on the other side of the world and still
Yeah.
have such a strong tie to each other because of dairy. It was just such a cool reminder and just the best experience ever. And also, we got to drink in the pubs over there. And that was
Yeah.
so much fun too. Like huge groups of these American kids going into these old school pubs. I'm sure the older people there were just like, what the hell is going on? Please leave. Because we were just loving it. We were thriving and getting to go to all these old UK, English, Scottish, Irish pubs.
Yeah. Well, so Emmy, I mean, we were going to ask each other what is better,
I
judging or
know.
showing. And I don't think I can answer that question. Because we still, now to this day, I would rather be involved with showing as like a fun
Yeah.
adult activity, but I definitely think judging gave me more, or like I
Yes.
use more from judging now as an adult.
I agree because when you judge when you're younger, for a lot of people, ideally, then you'll keep progressing and you can judge then at shows. Like you can get paid to judge at small shows, big shows, whatever it is. And I know Becca's done a few, and I know our
Mm-hmm.
dad always did it, and it was always really, really cool. But for me, I did one show in Georgia, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I was so nervous. So I don't know
Yeah. I'm
if I
not,
want to do it again.
no, you know what? I tried it and it's just, it's not for me. I think I've made like a conscious decision, and sorry to anyone who had me on their list of people who might be able to judge a show.
I'm not going to do it.
I don't mind judging showmanship, which is
Oh, that's my
just,
least favorite.
yeah. And I think because there's not as much pressure on making sure you evaluate the animals correctly and like you're not hurting anybody's feelings, but it's just a skill set that I haven't kept refined maybe, and I'm not
Yeah.
as involved on the genetics and the development side of animals to feel like I have an opinion that's educated enough or informed
Yeah.
enough to be like a fair judge, right? So that's probably me
Yeah.
just giving myself an excuse because I don't know. There's just something I don't get a high from it like I used to. I'd rather just
Yeah.
be there with my own animals, supporting, them in the ring. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
feel similar. I feel similar because it was really fun, well, doing it growing up because you can win, right? And so it's
yeah,
like the high of, oh, just being good at
yeah,
it almost and winning and then
yeah,
getting to participate, go to other organizations and competitions. And so, yeah, judging, I think, gave me maybe more professional skills in terms of speaking, again, or
hmm,
decision making, different things like that. But to where I would stay involved now, I would rather still be
yeah,
involved more on the show side versus getting in the ring and judging. I would
yeah,
still love to help youth judge and, volunteer and coach and stuff, but
hmm,
for being in the ring, yeah, I did it once, and it probably wouldn't be as bad if you keep getting better, but I don't need to be in the ring.
yeah,
I like being on the sidelines and then showing them and getting them
yeah.
ready. Shout out
And
to the
one of
people that do judge. You're needed, and it's very
you are
important.
needed and you are wonderful, and keep doing it so we don't have to.
Yeah. You guys are
Um,
great.
and one of the things, I think this has been just I feel like we could just talk about this forever, and there are so many side stories that I know you and I avoided where I'm like, ooh, we could talk about Europe as like one whole episode,
I
or
know.
show our experiences at some of these shows. But one of the things that we always did at shows that was so much fun is washing animals with music blasting
And on night duty.
And yeah, music blasting on, making sure I'm watching the animals overnight, staying up all night to make sure that those animals are okay.
Yeah, we always got to do that, lucky us.
And I remember, maybe more as an adult, drinking Keystone Lights while listening to the hottest songs of the summer while washing our cows. So, I think for this weekly obsession, you and I wanted to share our songs of the summer. So I'm curious, what is yours that if we were to be at the All-American drinking a Keystone Light and washing cows, what would your song of the summer be to listen to while doing it?
Yeah, so questions on like, what's your favorite thing? I always have a hard time answering, so I have a couple, which I know is cheating, but that's like, okay, I can make a playlist, let's say. So I just want to say Sabrina Carpenter is having her moment, and they're just such a fun bop. So I think anything Sabrina Carpenter right now, I know there's Feather, Espresso, Please, Please, Please. I think Espresso is still going to be like the song of the summer for her. And then Miles on It by Kane Brown and Marshmello is such a fun song. It makes you want to dance. Like, I'm thinking about it now. I could start singing it. It just makes you want to bob around. And I could definitely imagine washing cows to that. And one more, kind of two, is the country version of Post Malone.
He's making a whole album.
I know. So we have two songs now, and he's just such a funny character, first off. And he really is a great singer. I mean, he has a lot of range. He can take on whatever. So I had some help with Post, and Morgan Wallen, of course, is so much fun. And it's a great boat ride song. And then he also just released one, I think this week, Pour Me a Drink with Blake Shelton. And again, it's so much fun.
I hope his album is just, I was telling Joey this, that it's just a bunch of
features,
collaborations. Yeah, just him like partnering and making these just bops. I hope the whole album is bops.
Yeah.
Fellow
I
bop
know.
makers.
Yeah, like, okay, show your skill, but also this isn't your realm, so just make it fun.
Yeah. Well, I think those are excellent songs. The only one I would add to that is $1 Million Baby.
Ooh, we got a different vibe going.
Troy something? I can't remember.
Troye Sivan?
Yeah. Yeah, is that it?
Wait, as the artist or as another guy completely?
No, I think that's who sings it.
Oh, no, it's like by AHS or something. Let's look it up.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Well, because I also enjoy Troye Sivan. He has some vibey, like boppy music, but I don't know if he necessarily has
Tommy
a new.
Richmond.
Who is AHS then? I'm thinking of like American Horror Story.
Yeah. So I love that song. So I think on our playlist now we've got like all the vibes covered.
Yeah, we got some country, we got some pop, and the $1 Million Baby is, it's like pop but not R&B. I don't know. It has a little bit of a, I don't want to say darker vibe, but moodier song vibe, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So
I love all the vibes. And I am surprised with this episode. I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to, have enough to talk about with 4-H and FFA? But it is fun once you start to reminisce. And I'm sure anyone listening who is involved in agriculture in general, but if you were involved in youth organizations, once you start talking about it, it's so much fun. And we didn't even get to touch on like Junior Holstein Association, which is another youth organization. It's a whole nother episode, right? So just, I think it's, to wrap it up, it's just giving a huge thank you to, again, all the people that get involved, to get their kids involved, to get the youth involved, because at the time it may be like, oh my gosh, this is hard, I don't want to do this, but it just ends up being so worth it in terms of the people you get to meet, the places you get to travel to, and truly the skills you get to learn. I know you can become an amazing human being, obviously, outside of agriculture, but we are just so lucky to have been able to grow up and be involved in dairy in that capacity, because it really does teach you an amazing work ethic, skills, and just how to be a really solid person. And I'm just very grateful for that.
Same.
Woo! Well, thanks for listening, y'all. And we have a really exciting episode next week as well. We have another really cool interview coming up, and so we're excited for y'all to tune into that to really kind of wrap up June Dairy Month. And as always, if you enjoyed the
wrap
episode,
up June Dairy Month, and it'll be kicking off July Ice Cream Month.
Yes, good call. It's a nice little rollover into it. So if you want to keep following along, you can subscribe to our show, like it, leave us reviews, let us know your feedback. Like Becca said, we always really enjoy the feedback. Y'all give us the questions, comments, whatever it may be. it really just makes this even more fun. And we're on socials as Cowgirl Talk. So go follow along if you'd like to. And otherwise, again, thanks for tuning in, y'all.
Yep. And as always, have a great day, cowgirls. Bye.
Bye.